Let's talk about Teams. So in this session, we're going to talk about cameras.
Yes.
So let's dive on a high level.
Yeah, cameras for Teams, certified, non-certified, what's possible, multicam, why? That's just some of the subjects we have been writing down. We're going to talk about today. Center of table cam as well. Where do we see it and where we don't? But anyway, I have a lot of questions. I know Lars is an MVP, right? And you probably know more than I do about Teams roadmap, etc. But something I remember you and me talked about some while ago was this networked camera. Was it something that was approved or not? And it actually is approved in some bundles, if you can say it like that. So QSC, they have QSys, they have their bundle with the network cameras. But I haven't heard about anybody else going that direction. So for now, it looks like they have that, but then you have this multi-camera setup where you can switch between cameras in the Teams.
Yeah.
Some cameras can do it. Intelligent as well. I don't know. As of today, we don't have certified that's able to do it at least. So
no. So we can start off by saying if you go with the Teams rooms on Windows, we have multicam.
Yes.
Which means that you can switch manually between the cameras. So you will have an option if you have connected two cameras, then you would have the option of switching between those cameras.
Yes.
Android, not yet. Yes, it's in roadmap. We can't say anything about the date for it, but the issue or it's more difficult on Android because there's a broader portfolio of OEMs that Microsoft needs to support.
Yeah.
Depending on each chipset that different vendors use, that could be then an issue. I know for a fact it is possible. Yeah. So yes, we will see it in the future, but I don't think that we will see it in near future.
No, but I also think that Microsoft has the plan of all the things you're able to do on Windows, you should be able to do on Android and versa, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just a matter of time before they will open up for it.
Yeah. So one of the often questions that I start with is how close are you sitting to the screen? Basically, not because I want to know how close to sit to the screen, but more the field of view.
Exactly.
So that's probably one of the first things that you need to consider is this camera that you're looking at, is that the right field of view?
And that's typical the thing, right? Because people, they actually don't know. That's not a question people ask. It's just, we need a bar, etc. Yeah, but what's the field of view? And do you need to be able to have a widespread of wide field of view, or a small field of view, more zoom? What do you... And for instance, there's some cameras out there with two cameras. You have one at Poly, and it's capable of doing both, right? So it can actually cover more than a normal camera would be able to, because it's switching between the two cameras. I actually think we will see more going that direction from manufacturers as well, because it's really nice to have that possibility. It's one camera that can handle both scenarios in a room. So the length of the room, but also a smaller room, so in front of the screen.
So the major issue that I see is you want to have a really wide field of view, because then it can cover more or less all rooms. But then again, you want to have a really crystal clear picture of a person that sits quite a long way from the camera, and that's probably the major issue that we see, at least when we look at digital zoom compared to optical zoom. So what are the pros and cons on optical zoom versus digital zoom?
So I will say that I prefer optical zoom. One of the reasons why I do it is because the white balance on the chip stays the same basically, and you just change the optic. When you do it on the chipset using the 4K chipset, for instance, making a 1080p out of it, you move around on this chipset and might not have the same light coming in the same way it should have, but it could change. And another thing is, if you try to zoom on it as well, then you will you will not make it as perfect as if it was an optical. But there's also a price difference normally on an optical zoom compared to a digital zoom camera.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also that it can be a bit more compromising for people in the room if the camera moves around, and that's where a lot of people like the digital zoom.
Exactly.
Because then basically the camera is like in the same point all the time, and then it does it within the camera. And I think also there's some pros about the digital zoom that it can do like easier do more of the features that we will see coming to Microsoft with like people framing.
Yeah, the intelligent cameras, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So of course it's easier to do on the chipset and split people out and do a bunch of stuff. I understand it might also be able to, I don't know, for the future at some point send more than one image from the camera, which could be nice because then you can frame the right for the front row, as we spoke about earlier, right? But again, to me, it's more or less finding the right camera for the room, and also have into consideration that it needs to be certified, because normally cameras you cannot manage them, but you have a Teams Admin Center which is able to put in some management on the cameras. Some brands have a management portal for the cameras, but not all manufacturers have that. And as long as you don't have a management platform and the camera breaks down, you don't know what's wrong with it. And you actually don't know if it's broken or not.
So I see that's one of the really big upsides on Teams Rooms is that you will be able to get a notification within Teams Admin Center if somebody disconnects the camera. Or something else is disconnected, but then you will get like right away a notification on something is wrong in this room, and then you can actually rework the room before that the employees or the users of the room are actually experience any errors within the meeting room. So people are talking more about multicam within a room. We see people come with a center of table camera. And I was thinking about the good old round table from Microsoft. Isn't this just going back in the days?
It is going back in the days, if you ask me. And as I understand why, because you want to have people framed more, and you want to be them included in the meeting, and you want to be them up there on the front row and have the image directly in front of the persons in the other end. And it's also nice to be framed and be presenting stuff right.
Yeah.
But to me, sometimes it makes sense. But normally when I'm entering a meeting room, I have my laptop with me, with my presentations. I could easily join just with the camera, and then I will act as those cameras on the table, because more or less you're not able to put anything on the table, at least here in the Nordics, because people don't want that. Cables going to the table, etc. But bring my laptop into the meeting, which have battery on, and it could easily face the camera for me on the screen to the rest. The only thing I would really love to is if Microsoft would be able to see that I was participating from the room, so they will not face my camera on the screen and just only show it to the audience.
I guess that is coming really soon.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware of that, but
So part of Microsoft Companion, which is basically bringing your own laptop or your device into the meeting room, you would like to have your own picture on the front of the room screen because you're already in the room.
Exactly, yeah.
But then it will be removed from the front of room screen within the meeting room, but still be presented to the file. Okay. So that's some of the things that enhancement of the companion mode.
But for me, it makes more sense than bringing something to the table. And if I want to have like a 360 cameras, it should be something hanging from the ceiling, like a lamp or something. So it will be more in that level. And then you're into the difficulties about which height should we film from, etc. And so,
is it beautiful enough for the architects?
Because it's all come down to the beauty of it sometimes with these clients. Because we need good audio. We all agree on that one, because we can not have a meeting without audio, but we can have a meeting without camera actually, and it still would be an okay meeting. But then again, I've also seen some multi-cameras where you have 3 cameras in the front, where they're cross-directed. And some do it based on AI, some do it based on the microphones pickup from the audio. And it's working. It's not what I would recommend, because you still need to have people sitting the right places, and sometimes you have 2 or 3 spaces between people, right?
Yeah.
So I'd rather go with a smaller room and then make a signature room where people can sit and have a better view towards the screen with a camera that's actually capable of capturing all the people sitting in front of them, rather than have.
So one of the points where I see really good uses of multicam is that removing that you don't need to look at the camera all the time.
Yeah.
So for instance, now I'm looking at the camera, but if I move this way and talk to you, then there was another camera picking me up from the side.
Yes.
I also know from several vendors that it's not easy.
No.
Because it's easy to do like a face recognition from the front, but it doesn't look the same from the left and from the right. And the worst situation would be getting 3 of Lars inside the same meeting room. So there needs to be an added intelligence on the cameras to make it work really well.
But then who should run this intelligence? Is it Microsoft or is it the vendor? Because if it's the vendor, you need to put it on the MTR from their side. Because you normally will not be able to put more boxes into the meeting room. But that's probably where we're gonna go, because doing stuff like that, it takes a lot of power actually, and processor power to be able to change between cameras, etc. So I think we will see for the future that there will be a box in the room where you connect the cameras and you pull out one camera signal, and you will not be able. That you will not make the change on the MTR itself, but you will make the change before it enters the MTR.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I basically think that there are 2 separate parts, I think. There are some people that would just like 2 video feeds from the same room.
Yep.
They don't really care about people framing and stuff like that. So that could be in a town hall meeting, one camera filming the presenter and another camera filming the audience.
Yeah.
So that would be one point. Teams rooms are not available or doesn't have that feature, at least yet. So in that case, you would need external boxes for that to be happening, or set up a coordinated meeting with 2 different Teams rooms, joining a meeting on 2 different accounts, but then only audio on one of the devices, of course. Don't want to have echo in the room.
No, exactly. And then I actually see the educational environment. They actually ask more or less about this multi-camera setup, because if they walk around and go around in a classroom, which camera will pick me up then? Because then it's always about the person standing up, going around. It would be nice to have some presenter track, whatever, working. And I think that we will see some vendors which is making the focus on this classroom setup, and then also this multi-camera for larger rooms. But for the smaller rooms, I definitely think that these where you have 2 optics on top of each other or next to each other, that would be more or less the go-to there, or the 360 camera. Even though
you don't like stuff in the table.
No, I don't like stuff on the table, and the 360 camera is. You can have them hanging actually for some of the vendors, but we haven't seen them presented properly yet. And also how is it handled by Microsoft in the other end? We haven't seen that. Is it one feed or is it multiple feeds? Because it is something that's going to be happening a lot of stuff in the next coming year, I think.
Let's end it here. Thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoy sessions like this, please follow us and hit subscribe, whatever.
Yes,
and we'll
connect
see
with
you
us
out.
on LinkedIn if you want to. So
Yes.